shit right here, man. You play when you feeling down. Y'all already know to get down, man. Wipe your feet off at the door when you step into a pimp's domain. Hit that like button. You play feeling like super holy day. Play this shit right here to spark up your home and get you right back going. You dig? Pimps for real, don't mistake it for fashion. The turf at birth, my reputation for madness. What's the track with active, attractive hoes? I ain't got my champagne flute with me, man. Y'all got to excuse my pimping. Appreciate y'all for tapping in. Go ahead, hit that like button. We're going to have some good one tonight. Down 7 below in the snow for dope. Over 120 in the sun for fun. Goldie, I see you. What's happening? Jay Wellathon, what's happening? End Zone, I see you. Red Carpet, what's up? Keita, I see you. What's going on? April Showers, I see you. DJ Bounce. Pretty B, Willow B, what's the words? Public Prince, my guy, what's up with you? Can't stop, won't stop, poppin' pimpin' nigga, can't stop, won't stop, can't stop, won't stop, poppin' pimpin' nigga, can't stop, won't stop, on these bitches nigga, can't stop, won't stop, poppin' pimpin' nigga, can't stop, won't stop, on these bitches nigga, can't stop, won't stop, poppin' pimpin' nigga, can't stop, won't stop, on these bitches nigga. See that's the difference nigga, pimpin' master for these bitches nigga, nothing like you master magician niggas, smoking mirrors with your game, hella extras to reflect the opposite appearance of a lane. I see y'all. Ray Gunn, good looking with the $2 holler, man. I see y'all tuned in. Quick. You know what I mean? It's 210 of y'all in here, but only 144 of y'all wiped your feet off at the door, man. Do a pimp a favor when you step into a pimp's domain. Wipe your feet off at the door. Hit that like button. We ain't going nowhere. We gonna be right here when you get done, man. Yeah, you know, I just want to chop and pop it about my bro for a minute, man. You know, give y'all a better understanding as to what made us so tight with each other. Give y'all some of the origins of Sinful's time in the game. I know a lot of y'all probably done heard, you know, Sinful's testimony as far as, you know, when he got in the game, but I don't know how in depth he went with it, and I don't know how much y'all know and don't know. So I'm gonna give y'all my take, right? Who was that? Jay Smooth, good looking with the $5 holler. Blessings to the game. Indeed. Yeah, man. So with no further ado, hey, I don't want to hear y'all talking about how Freeze done lost his smoothness, man. How Freeze done got rough around the edges because he drinking from the bottle, man. Listen, y'all know I ain't in back of the spaceship right now. You know, I don't have a spaceship with me in Chicago. You know what I mean? Spaceship ain't here right now, so I ain't got my normal get down with me. You dig? But I'm still putting some love in my body, and I strongly encourage you to put some love in your body as well. This shit don't stop. Danica, good looking with the $10 holler. 211 RIP Goldie, good looking with the $2 holler. Oh, Danica with the $10 holler, my bad. 211 with the $2 holler, good looking. Yeah, man. So as many of you already know, right? Sinful and myself, we both come into the game pretty much at the same time. Early 2007. Now, as far as my introduction to the game, right? I had a partner by the name of Julian J, who's also no longer here with us. Rest in peace to Julian J. Long live Julian J. Julian J passed away almost 2 years ago, right? Julian passed away early 2021. But Julian was my earliest influence in the game, right? Uh, Now at the time, I'm green as goose shit, so I don't really understand the game. I don't know too much, you know, more than the average square when it comes to the game, right? So me and Julian, we partners, we cool, and I'm on some square shit, right? But Julian, Julian be having hoes from time to time, but and in my mind at the time, he doing some pimping. But I come to find out, Julian was more of a kind of like a Mac. Julian was the type of individual, he gonna get his money whatever type of way he can get it, but he got enough sense to know what to do with a hoe if a hoe giving him action want to fuck with him, right? So um through Julian, I kind of like got influenced and wanted to be in the game, just being around him, fucking with him, right? And seeing him interact with hoes and shit like that. That kind of influenced me to want to be in the game. So uh Sinful, on the other hand, Sinful's earliest influence in the game, as far as wanting to be in the game, I would have to say is Nice. Nice out of that New Orleans. As y'all probably done seen Sinful's video about King Nice. That's what I'm talking about. Nice would be, and Nice is also no longer here with us, man. It's crazy. Julian is no longer here. That's my earliest influence. Nice is no longer here. That's Sinful's earliest influence. And of course, as y'all know, Sinful is no longer here. So long live all of them guys, right? But Nice was Sinful's earliest influence as far as wanting to be in the game, right? Now, where Sinful and myself come together, you know, uh, when we come together, ain't neither one of us really full-fledged pimping. We kind of both just getting our feet wet. It's like we both was being influenced and, getting our feet wet and wanting to be in the game around the same time. And then shortly after that, like right around the time when we being influenced to be in the game, we come together, right? Now, uh Sinful and myself, we met each other for the first time at McDonald's on the Las Vegas Strip. The McDonald's this next to, matter of fact, I don't think the McDonald's is even there no more. But the McDonald's ain't there no more, I don't think. But the Fat Burger on the Las Vegas Strip, next to the Walgreens, the McDonald's that used to be right there, that's where Sinful and myself met. Uh, it was Julian, rest in peace, my brother Smooth. Now, for those of y'all who don't recall, my video that I made called, entitled "My Life Before the Game," where I was talking about the things that I was into before I got in the game, as far as the phone hustle and all that type of shit. Smooth, if y'all recall that video, Smooth was like my ace boon coon. You know what I mean? Me and Smooth come from Long Beach together. And I've been tight with Smooth since I was about 16 years old, right? So fortunately Smooth is still here. But it's Smooth, it's Julian and myself, right? We inside the McDonald's, right? That's how you know this shit is old, because I ain't ate McDonald's in over a decade. Sinful ain't ate McDonald's in over a decade. So that's how you know this shit is old as a motherfucker. Sinful and Freeze meet each other at McDonald's for the first time. You know what I mean? But anybody who remember that McDonald's on the strip back then, hey, that McDonald's used to be popping. Hoes coming in there to get hot chocolate or coffee or some shit like that, or just get a snack or something like that, get a bite to eat. Hoes love McDonald's. You know, and that's where Freeze be having a conflict with a lot of hoes, because one thing this for sure, if you come fucking with Freeze, McDonald's don't exist no more. So that's where myself and a lot of hoes, young hoes in particular, just about all hoes love McDonald's, but especially young hoes. But young hoes and freeze, we be having a hard time getting this, the harmony. We be doing this a lot of times. We be clashing, we be bumping heads, so but nonetheless, Sinful and myself, we meet each other at McDonald's for the first time. Julie and Jay is with me, and Smooth is with me, right? Uh 500 bands, good looking with the $50 holler. And it was somebody else who I missed. Let me catch you. Bill, good looking with the $2 holler. Glory to God for this game. Long live Sinful to P. Indeed. Money Wise, good looking with the $5 holler. D Nice, good looking with the $5 holler. Clifton, Divine, good looking with the $5 holler. Yeah, so I didn't want to miss y'all before I continue. But yeah, so we at McDonald's, man. And Sinful is just a charismatic, funny dude from the gate, man. You know, if I recall when I met him, he had like some slacks on and like a linen type shirt, you know. And see, I didn't notice at the time, but Sinful was small when I met him. When I first met Sinful, he was probably like 180 something pounds, right? And this is early 2007. So of course, I'm not knowing this at the time, but to give you a little backstory leading up to that moment, right? Um, Sinful gets to Las Vegas in 2005. He's 21 years old at that time. Now, um, when he first get to Las Vegas, he over 300 pounds, but uh, he got a job at Walmart, and while he's working at Walmart, I can't remember the girl's name. Somebody in the chat probably remember because I know he done told this story on YouTube before. But it was a chick that he was really digging on. There was a coworker at Walmart, right? Sinful thought this girl was fine as hell, and he really wanted this chick. So as we know, a man's greatest motivation is to impress a woman. you know, there's probably not anything that's going to motivate a man more than impressing a woman. We want to have a lot of money so we can impress women. We want to look good so we can impress women. We want to talk good, smell good, feel good, all of that, ultimately to impress a woman. You know, JM, good looking with the $2 holler. So that was Sinful's motivation to lose weight early on when he got to Vegas, was to get in with this chick. So he ended up losing the weight. He ended up getting good with the chick, and that's how that went, right? So, um, also after Walmart, Sinful got a job at a CCA. CCA is a call center. Like basically, he was doing telemarketing, right? So he was doing a telemarketing thing, and through that, he met a lot of other people in Vegas too. So he met a lot of people first coming to Vegas working at Walmart. Then he also met a lot of people working at CCA, in the call center doing telemarketing. So, and then also, um, when I met Sinful early '07, uh, I believe he was still dabbling with the lounges, but I think he was like at the ass end of that, right? Because for those of y'all who don't know, uh, Sinful used to sing in a group called Next Movement, and Next Movement used to perform at Bally's and probably a few other casinos. I know for sure they used to perform at Bally's though. But Sinful was a part of that group called Next Movement, and he was performing at Bally's, right? So that's another way a lot of people from Vegas remember Sinful. They remember Sinful from uh, the lounges, singing, right? So, so like I said, leading up to that, that's when I meet Sinful. We meet each other at McDonald's. You know what I mean? We become cool with each other. And, he was funny as hell, charismatic immediately. You know what I mean? Like, Sinful is just one of them dudes. From the moment you meet him, he gonna leave a lasting impression on you. Even if you only meet him one time and you don't see him again for 10, 15 years, you're gonna remember him. Sinful is somebody that just he just got a certain type of charisma about himself where he gonna make an impact on you from the moment that he meets you, that you meet him, right? So um so we meet each other that night at McDonald's, and then from there we'll see each other on the strip all the time, and we'll greet each other, chop it up for a minute, and then keep it pushing, right? Uh, because at the time, you know, so to give you a little backstory on me, um, I'm fresh off parole at this time. I just got off parole probably like a month or two before I met Sinful, right? I was on parole in Long Beach, California. I get off parole, now I can move around. Now I can leave the state and leave Los Angeles County. So now that I'm free to move around from Los Angeles County, I go to Las Vegas. What took me to Las Vegas was the All Star game. 2007, they had the first and it'll probably be the last NBA All Star game in Las Vegas. Reason why I say it probably be the last is because you know black folks, we came out there and we showed our ass, man. We had a blast. That was a crazy weekend, NBA All Star weekend in Vegas, 2007. Hey man, that was a that was a that weekend was something special, man. It was a blast. If you was there, you know what the fuck I'm talking about, man. We was having fun. It was shoulder to shoulder people. It was so many people. But the reason why I say it'll probably be the last time that they had an All Star weekend there, just over that weekend, like over the course of 2 days, I think it was either 2 days or 3 days, they arrested like 300 and something people. And to my knowledge, that's the only time that's ever happened in Las Vegas where they arrested so many people in such a short time frame. They arrested like 300 something people that weekend, like 350 or 360 something people, some shit like that. You know what I mean? But it was off the chain. It was so much fun. You know, Motherfuckers was wilding. It was all kind of wild shit taking place on the strip. Uh, some kind of dangerous wild shit, but at the same time, a lot of fun wild shit. But anyway, that's what took me to Las Vegas. I had just got off parole, probably like no, I'm saying I got off 2 months before I met Sinful. Not, I probably got off parole like maybe 4 months before I met Sinful, something like that, right? I get off parole in December of 2006, right? That's when I discharged. I discharged parole December 2006. February 2007 is when they had an All Star game in Vegas. I go to Vegas, and then I kind of just start staying in Vegas after that. You know what I mean? First place I stayed in Las Vegas was, I think it was the Harbor Islands. No, 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 no. I take that back. First place I ever stayed in Las Vegas is a little raggedy ass motel downtown. Well, not well, down the street from down on Fremont. On Fremont Street, it's a spot. I think it's called the Desert Hills Motel. Little raggedy ass motel. That's the first place I ever stayed in Vegas when I got to Vegas. I stayed at the Desert Hills Motel. If you Google that shit, or if you in Vegas and you ever drove past that shit, right? Like Ali Frazier say, old Vegas. You know what I mean? If you know about the Desert Hills Motel, that's a raggedy ass little motel. But that's where I stayed when I first came to Vegas. And then once I Rico said I Googled it. It's crazy. Yeah, it's a little raggedy little spot, man. But I'm fresh off parole, man. This is my first time being able to move around in some years, so hey man, I didn't give a fuck. I went to that little raggedy motherfucker and stayed. Shit. I think it was probably only like $35 a night, some shit like that to stay there. That's probably what attracted me to it. But shortly after I got to Vegas, uh, I start getting familiar with different spots and shit, and I learned about the Harbor Islands, and then I started staying at the Harbor Islands, and um, it became a thing where, because I was doing my music, right? This when I was like heavy into the rapping. So me and my partner Julian, who I was telling you about, passed away, and my partner Smooth, we used to make trips to Vegas with our CDs and shit, get rid of our CDs, and then we'll go back to LA, re-up, come back to Vegas, right? So yeah, that's what it was. I would go. I stayed at the Desert Hills first, then I moved to the Harbor Islands. And when I was staying at the Harbor Islands, that's when I met Sinful, right? So, like I said, when me and Sinful first met, we was cool with each other, familiar with each other, and we would see each other in passing on the strip because I'll be moving all up and down the strip with my music. You know what I mean? I'm pumping my music all up and down the strip. And I would see Sinful. It used to be a 7-Eleven. It's a spot on the strip. I think that area is still called the Hawaiian Marketplace. Um, the Hawaiian Marketplace is across the street from that. I think it's called the City Center, where all the high end stores is next to the Aria and all that shit. Uh, the Hawaiian Marketplace. Put it like this: Hawaiian Marketplace is in front of the Polo Towers on Las Vegas Strip, right in between Harmon and Tropicana Avenue. In between Harmon Avenue, Tropicana Avenue, like kind of in the middle, is Hawaiian Marketplace. Hawaiian Marketplace used to have a 7-Eleven right there. And that's where Sinful, another individual who then passed away, YT passed away about 6 years ago. Long live YT, young Twiz. YT was a young man who was from Vegas that Sinful and myself ended up becoming real tight with, right? But um, in front of the 7-Eleven, that's where we all used to kick it, right? Uh, YT used to be right there. Rest in peace. Julian J will come through sometimes. Rest in peace. Sinful would be there. Uh, the homie John the D boy. Uh, John used to also go by Juggernaut, but we called him John the D boy. You know what I mean? John was the weed man in the powder man. He used to have the weed and the powder on deck. John used to be right there. The Samoan homie from Long Beach, man, he was from the West Side, I think. Uh, Tall, slim cat. I want to say his name was Will. I think that was the homie's name. Uh, the homie Psycho Mike from Park Village from Compton. He used to be right there. You know what I mean? The two brothers with the long hair from West Boulevard, they used to be over there. You know what I mean? The homie Cappuccino, shout out to Cappuccino, wherever you at. Cappuccino used to be right there. You know what I mean? And then, of course, the homies Duke and Monk. You know what I mean? Duke and Monk, I believe, are cousins, but Duke and Monk, they from Rubidoux Projects in Riverside. You know what I mean? Shout out to Duke and shout out to Monk. You know, but yeah, these is like, regular faces that used to be in front of that 7-Eleven back then. So whenever I be moving up and down the strip, I see all them guys, including Sinful, you know what I mean? And I'd sit and chop it up with them for a minute, go inside the 7-Eleven. When I go inside the 7-Eleven, come out, whatever, I sit, chop it up with them for a minute, then keep it pushing, you know. But for those of y'all who remember my video talking about when I got into the game, what really was the I guess you could say what sealed the deal for me wanting to be in the game, wanting to take the game serious, was my encounter with this one older hoe that I had ran into, right? So after I ran into that older hoe and had that encounter with her, Smooth, good looking with the $20 holla, blessings P. So once I meet that older hoe and had an encounter with her and decide to get serious about this game, what me and Julian J started doing, me and Julian, we would pump our music early in the day, right? We'll probably get out there like 11 in the morning, 12 o'clock, something like that. And we'll be out there all day till probably by like 7 or 8 o'clock in the evening, right? And then me and Julian would me and Julian would go in, change our clothes, and we'll campaign. So me and Julian would change and start campaigning probably about 7 or 8 o'clock in the evening, and we'll stay down till like 5, 6 in the morning. Campaigning, trying to have a hoe, right? So when I would do this, I started seeing Sinful and YT more. I was cool with everybody that used to be over there, but um, Sinful, myself, and YT, everybody used to try to act like they was pimping. You had motherfuckers that was hustling slash trying to have a bitch. Motherfuckers that was doing a bunch of other shit trying to have a bitch at the same time. But um, it kind of evolved into a situation where Sinful, myself, and YT, we start becoming real tight with each other because um, we was all kind of serious about, getting pimping. Now, YT had a hoe named Caramel at the time. You know what I mean? Shout out Caramel. Hopefully she's still, doing all right. But YT used to have a hoe named Caramel at the time, right? Caramel was a nice, as the name implies, she was a nice little petite little caramel young lady, real pretty, had a nice little body, had kind of like the slim thick thing going on back then. Before they even started using terminology like slim thick, she was slim thick. You know what I mean? Caramel was a nice looking little caramel complected young lady, right? Uh, at that time, uh, BBW lover, good looking with the $5 holler. I'm still sad. I'm still sad Sin passed away. He always entertained me and he had so much game. He will forever be missed. Keep going, keep the campaign going, Freeze. Appreciate you, BBW lover. But yeah, so like I said, YT had a hoe at the time named Caramel, right? Caramel was doing her thing. YT used to have, he didn't really play the strip with Caramel too much. I think he would put her on the strip sometimes, but YT mostly was playing Boulder Highway. And YT is a big part of the reason why Sinful fell in love with Boulder Highway. Sinful used to love Boulder Highway. You know what I mean? And a big part of the reason why Sinful loved Boulder Highway so much is because YT was doing his thing over there and Caramel was socking it to his pocket. You know what I mean? She wasn't hitting probably no major licks on Boulder Highway, but she was giving YT some cool, consistent money, 1,100, 900, 1,200. You know what I mean? 1,000. You know, Caramel was giving YT some cool traps consistently off of Boulder Highway, right? So that's what made Sinful fall in love with Boulder Highway. You know, everybody else was into the strip. Tropicana was kind of cool at that time, but um, Boulder Highway was cracking. You know what I mean? Tropicana was cool too, but Boulder Highway, as far as a blade, as far as a track, Boulder Highway was cool. So, so Sinful's, just like with myself, right? Sinful had he would have little bitches here and there that kind of like play around, act like they trying to do some hoeing, but it wouldn't really go nowhere, right? And same thing with me. I have little, fly by nights. Sinful have some fly by nights. I have some fly by nights. But I would have to say that Sinful's first real hoe was Rachel, which Rachel went by Priceless. You know what I mean? She was a tall Samoan girl. And had real long, pretty hair, pretty girl, uh, Priceless was, or Rachel, that was Sinful's first hoe that like really was fucking with his pimping for real, you know. And that's the one who I'm sure y'all recall in the story where he told you about when he got burnt. It was Rachel who did that, But so uh at the time YT had okay, so YT had Caramel first before me and Sinful ever really had like a real hoe. YT had Caramel, right? And then not long after YT having Caramel, I knocked my first real hoe. Now my first real hoe was Shay. Shay was a little petite little chocolate girl from Denver. And Shay was the first hoe that really was fucking with my pimping, right? Gave me my first real trap. Uh, not no major trap, but like when I say real trap, I'm talking about followed my instructions, went got some money, and then came back and gave me some money off the instructions that I gave her. That's what I mean by a real trap. I'm not talking about real trap in terms of the amount because it wasn't big. My first trap was $350, and that came from Shay, right? So YT got caramel. I knocked Shay, you know, and shortly after I knocked Shay, because Sinful was fired up. After I knocked Shay, Sinful get fired up. He like, man, ain't no way in the world you motherfuckers, everybody got a hold of me. I'm Sinful to P. You know what I mean? He had that about himself early on, you know what I mean? The cockiness, uh, the arrogance, he had that early on, so um I'll never forget, me and Sinful had been down all night. We both tired as a motherfucker, and then uh he ends up knocking Rachel. He get Rachel from his brother. You know what I mean? Now, for those of y'all who don't know, y'all probably heard him talk about his brother Kyle, who's here in Chicago, but that's his brother from his mother. Now he has a brother who's also named Philip. Shout out to Philip, man. If you're around, man, hopefully you're doing all right. But um, Sinful has a brother whose name is also Philip that was in Las Vegas back then, right? And that's who Sinful get his first hoe from, you know, because Rachel or Priceless, you know, she was fucking with Philip at first. Little Philip's younger, Sinful's younger brother, Philip, right? She fucking with Philip at first, you know, and they just having like fuck fest going on. They young, cause Sinful young, his brother even younger than him. So, he just young, having fun with her, letting the homies run trains, doing all kind of wild little, sexcapade type shit. So Sinful get to popping it at her, and she decides to fuck with his pimping. So that's how Sinful get his first hoe. He get his first hoe from his younger brother Philip, who she wasn't hoeing for Philip. So essentially she was a turnout. Sinful really turned Rachel out. You know, uh, so that was his first hoe, right? And then he ended up getting a little bit of more of a run out of Rachel than I did from Shay. I didn't really have Shay that long. I probably had Shay maybe like a couple weeks or something. I didn't have Shay that long, but Sinful, he had he had Priceless for some months, right? Now, so he got Priceless, and after I didn't have Shay no more, I ended up knocking Jasmine. Now, Jasmine was a little petite red bone from Milwaukee, little crazy motherfucker. She was a little petite, little pretty, little bitch, but she was crazy as a motherfucker. Like typical Milwaukee bitch, man. I don't know what it is about Milwaukee, man, but a lot of them bitches is crazy, man. And whoever tell you something different, they either lying to you or they don't know what they talking about, man. But the Milwaukee bitches be crazy, and this one was no different, right? So Sinful and myself, we did a lot of pimping together side by side with Priceless and Jasmine. He got Priceless, I got Jasmine, you know. And so at the time, I had a car, little bucket that I had got from the square bitch that I had been fucking with before I got in the game, right? While I was on parole, I was fucking with this little square bitch, and she had put me in this car. So I used to, make trips to Vegas in this car. And then once I get pimping, I still got this little car. And so, we used to make trips to California, and you know, this is when Sinful gets introduced to Fig. You know what I mean? Now, Sinful loved Fig immediately, right? Back then I didn't like Fig. I'm talking about 2007. 2007, Freeze was kind of like on some bougie shit. Freeze wasn't fucking with Fig. You know what I mean? As Sinful would say, it used to be all kind of gangbangers and strangers, what I mean, and hoes putting themselves in danger on that Fig, man. So Fig wasn't really my cup of tea. And back then, you know, uh, Fig didn't have the reputation that it does now. See, social media boosted Fig up and made Fig a lot more popular than what it used to be. Now, Fig was still popping back then, but it wasn't the only blade that was popping back then. See, it's different now. Certain blades that's kind of dead now was popping back then. You know what I mean? Century Boulevard was kind of like on the end. It was like kind of fading out. But uh not only was Fig popping, Long Beach Boulevard was popping back then. Beach Boulevard was popping back then. Harbor Boulevard was popping back then. Sepulveda Boulevard was popping back then. Sunset Boulevard was still even popping back then. Uh, Western Western wasn't what it ended up becoming. I don't think back then. Right? Like Sepulveda Prince say, Lancashire. Lancashire was popping back then. Uh, Holt Street or Holt Boulevard in Pomona was still popping back then. Uh, man, it's so many blades that was jumping back then. Uh, Florida, Florida is a blade out there, and Hemet, Florida was popping. You had Colorado over there in Pasadena. Man, it was so many blades. But as far as the most popping blades back in 2007, I would have to say Sunset, Sepulveda, Harbor Boulevard, uh, and Fig was probably like the most popping blades. And maybe you could put Long Beach Boulevard in there too. You know what I mean? Now, when I say most popping, I say like those are the blades back then that you would go to and see the most hoes. See, a lot of people don't remember them days, man, and that's why Sinful fell in love with California, man, because it was so much pimping and hoeing going on out there. He went to California and loved that shit. You know, that's why he got so much love for the Bay Area. That's why he got so much love for the Southern California, just California. Period. When you listen to Sinful to P, you hear him giving props to California a lot. And a big part of the reason why is because when we first went to California to go pimping, when we left Vegas and went to Cali, and he got a taste of that, he just fell in love with that shit, right? So so back in these days, man, this is when you can go to Sepulveda and see 60, 70 hoes down. Like Sepulveda used to be jumping. You ain't gonna see it like that no more nowadays. But back in them days, man, you'll go to Sepulveda and you'll see 60 or 70 hoes down, man, on all them little side streets on Archwood, Kittredge, Vos, Hart, you know what I mean? Valerio, Cohasset, Satakoy, Lanark, Roscoe, Chase, like all the way down to uh, 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 Burbank Boulevard, Magnolia. You know what I mean? That whole man, Sepulveda. That's why Sepulveda, like me personally, Sepulveda is my favorite blade ever. Of course, it ain't what it used to be, but at the height of any blade that was a blade, sometimes I be juggling between Sepulveda and Harbor Boulevard, but I really got to lean more towards Sepulveda though. And I love Harbor Boulevard. Harbor Boulevard is another blade that shit really 5, 6 years ago. You go to Harbor Boulevard, see 60, 70, 80, 100 holes down. You know what I mean? Harbor used to be jumping, but they ended up shutting it down and it don't pop like that no more. But Sepulveda is my favorite blade. That's my favorite blade. That's where I had the most fun. You know what I mean? I don't know. I just love Sepulveda. You know, Sepulveda was the shit. When I was fresh coming into the game, man, Sepulveda was the shit. You know, really the whole Southern California period too, right? But anyway, so um, you know, when when we went to California, we all went in my little bucket. I had a little Toyota, uh, was it a Corolla? Like this in 2007, I had like a little 2005 Toyota Corolla little bucket, right? You know what I mean? We riding from uh from uh from Vegas to California. You know, it's like a 3.5 hour trip, man. You know, we bumping UGK Underground Kings album. You know, we bumping that along the way. You know, we bumping Sugar Free and Mac Dre along the way. We bumping Kanye West Graduation along the way. We bumping 50 Cent Before I Self Destruct along the way. You know, this is just the music that was hot back at that time. You know what I mean? Pimp C, Sweet James Jones stories. You know, we just bumping all that type of shit. You know, that's kind of like the soundtrack to our life at that time. You know, uh, so we get to California. You know, I'm telling Sinful about all the different blades around there, man. And then uh, we wasn't really setting the hoes down on Fig at first. I never was. You know what I mean? Like me, I'm gonna keep it funky. I'm from LA, born and raised, right? I spent my whole youth in Los Angeles County. I never set a hoe down on Fig back then. You know what I mean? I didn't really start fucking with Fig till like 2016. You know, so that go to show you, Free's kind of like a bougie pimp. Sinful, on the other hand, when he first seen Fig, he fell in love with that motherfucker. You know, because what we would do, we'll set hoes down on Sepulveda, we'll set hoes down on Sunset, we'll set hoes down on Harbor Boulevard, and then we'll go to Fig and campaign, because it'd be a whole different wave of hoes. Like say it ain't that many hoes on Sepulveda on a particular night. We'll go to Fig because even back then, that's one thing about Fig. Fig always been a place where it's a bunch of hoes. Even way back then, like back in the day, Fig always been like that. Fig always been a spot where you go and you're gonna see hoes down any given time of the day, any day of the week, any day of the year. You go to Fig, you're gonna see some hoes down always. Right. So we used to go to Fig just to sweat hoes. And when we used to go to Fig and sweat hoes, Sinful, like I said, he fell in love with that shit. And then you know, eventually he ended up going over there by himself. Like when we went back to Vegas and he got deep, he was like 4, 5 deep, 6 deep. You know, he loaded up his car. He had a Jaguar at that time, a S type, a gold S type Jaguar, right? So he started going to Fig on his own and kicking out over there, Fig and Long Beach Boulevard, and that's when he meets Sepulveda Prince back in the days. You know what I mean? And you know, he was real cool with a cat named Two Fly as well. You know what I mean? Out of Hollywood. You know, Sinful, he get real cool with Paul the Prince. He get real cool with Two Fly, and probably a bunch of other cats who I can't recall right now. Oh, BP, right? Exactly. He got cool with BP back then too. Uh, yeah. He used to call me. I'll be in Vegas, and then I start going cross country before Sinful did. You know what I mean? So no, I ain't gonna say that. I can't say that. I start going to certain other places. He went to certain places that I hadn't been to first. Like in '07, he was fucking around in that New Orleans. You know what I mean? Uh, but before he went to New Orleans, he was fucking around in that Fig too. But while he was on Fig, I'd be in other places. Like uh, I went to the East Coast early on. You know what I mean? I had knocked this bitch that was from the East Coast, and then I ended up going to the East Coast fucking with her. So I was fucking with DC. I was fucking with the whole DMV. You know what I mean? Uh, Fucking around in that Tyson's Corner. I was fucking with that early on. I was fucking with that DC. Uh, Damn man, it's a certain little spot that I used to fuck with in DC. I can't remember the name of that shit. Uh, fuck, something, it's something Heights. I can't recall the exact name of that shit, but it's like Northwest DC. No, DuPont Circle. That's where I used to be in DC. I used to fuck with DuPont Circle. Uh, uh, I was fucking with, like I said, Tyson's Corner out there in Virginia. I was fucking with Maryland too. I was fucking with Jessup, Laurel, Hanover. You know what I mean? All up uh, Highway 1 over there in Maryland. You know what I mean? Capitol Heights. I was fucking with Capitol Heights too. That's what I was trying to think of. Yeah. Capitol Heights. I was fucking with Capitol Heights. I was fucking with DuPont Circle. You know what I mean? Uh, no, not Columbia Heights. I think it was Capitol Heights. I've heard of Columbia Heights too though. But yeah, I was fucking with Bethesda, Maryland. You know what I mean? Silver Springs. You know what I mean? College Park back then was kind of ghetto. You know what I mean? I wasn't really fucking with College Park, Maryland. You know, but yeah, man. You know, I was fucking with the DMV. But when I was all out there, you know, Sinful was over there fucking with Fig, doing his thing and having it his way. You know what I mean? And he was telling me all about Fig and all the fun that he was having over there and the funds that he was having over there. And he was fucking with Long Beach Boulevard real heavy too back at that time. You know, when he first went to California without me, he was fucking with Fig and Long Beach Boulevard real heavy back then. You know, and Denise said, "Laugh my ass off. College Park definitely ghetto." Yeah, hey, College Park was hot back then. You know, they was always doing things over there, shit like that. So I wasn't fucking with College Park. But yeah, so yeah, Sinful. You know, he was fucking around over there, and then we came back together. I came back to the West Coast, went to Vegas, and he had just got back to Vegas around that same time. And then, you know, we was fucking around in Vegas again. You know, we used to go over T Mac's house all the time. T Mac was our old school partner. Y'all probably done heard Sinful talk about him. You probably done heard me talk a little bit about T Mac. But T Mac was an older cat that was like an early influence on us. You know what I mean? Uh, you know, T Mac was a pimp from the '70s out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. You know, and T Mac was just a real smooth, like he talked real smooth. He had real smooth mannerisms. You know, he had a pimpish ass voice. T Mac was just he just had like a lot of pimpish ways about himself. You know what I mean? He always stayed well groomed. You know what I mean? Had some cool little jewelry, nice dress code. You know what I mean? Uh, you know, this is somebody who influenced Sinful and myself early on, T Mac, right? And uh, I don't know where T Mac is right now. I don't know if T Mac is still living, but you know, I got a whole lot of love for T Mac, man, and I wish I knew where he was or what's going on with him or something like that. You know what I mean? But yeah, Thurman Butler, man, T Mac. That's my old school partner, right? We used to be at T Mac house all the time. And T Mac, man, you know, he a Milwaukee motherfucker just like the rest, man. You know, so he got some Milwaukee ass ways about himself. We take a love break real quick. Now, T Mac, one of them old school cats, he gonna definitely try to break on you. If he see you got, if you're a young pimp that's around T Mac, and you know you got a hoe, and he see that you checking some money, T Mac definitely gonna try to get a jug about you. You know what I mean? But T Mac used to stay over them over in them apartments on Valley View and Twain. Well, it's between Valley View and Wynn. I guess you could say closer to Wynn, right? Like the side of that complex where he stayed was closer to Valley View Boulevard, but the apartment complex was really on Wynn and Twain, right? Now, next to those apartments, they got a Green Valley Grocery, little corner store right there, right? You know, T Mac used to go over there get the little $1 shots of Taka Vodka. Boy, T Mac was crazy for drinking that nasty ass shit. But yeah, T Mac, he had a clean ass STS Cadillac, man. I still to this day ain't never seen an STS like the one T Mac had. He got the cleanest he had the cleanest STS back then that I had ever seen, man. You know, T-Mac's STS was real clean. You know, and we used to fuck with T-Mac real heavy, Sinful and myself. We used to always be at T-Mac house. You know, I don't know what it was about T-Mac, man, but all the young hoes used to like T-Mac, man. So T-Mac was always having young hoes at his house. Y'all probably done heard Sinful talk about T-Mac before, right? But sometimes, man, going to T-Mac house is better than going to the Blade or going to the Strip, man, because he always had hoes over there, man. T-Mac always had young hoes at his house. You know, so we used to always be at T-Mac house, man, fucking around. And then T-Mac and Mac Man also. I know y'all done heard Simple talk about Mac Man. Mac Man was a motherfucker. Mac Man was another old school cat from the 70s, originally out that New York. You know what I mean? Mac Man was from New York. And he was another old school cat. There was the early influence. Uh, Robin said I just drove past there. Yeah, man, that was our old stomping grounds, man. Me and Simple used to be over on Valley View and Twain all the time. Like daily, we used to be over there. You know what I mean? And we used to sometimes we would walk from T Mac's house to the Strip. You know what I mean? But but yeah, Mac Man was another early influence on us. You know what I mean? Uh, you know, T Mac was the one who put it in Sinful's mind. You know, to charge a bitch, break a hoe. You know what I mean? Because T Mac was like, one time he got at Sinful. He like, man, you know, you be getting action from these hoes, man, but you be real nice to these bitches, man. You just be talking to these bitches and you don't be breaking a bitch. Like, nigga, go break a bitch. You know what I mean? So when T Mac put that in Sinful's head, you know what I mean? Like when them hoes get out of pocket, you're supposed to break on their ass. Hey, from there, he created a monster. You know what I mean? Simple was breaking on everything moving. You dig? So and then Mac Man and T Mac, they knew each other from the 70s, right? So Mac Man and T Mac had been cool with each other for a long time, since before we was born. Right. So you know, we had got cool with Mac Man and T Mac. And then T Mac, I mean Mac Man used to be at T Mac's house all the time too, right? So everybody used to like T Mac's house was like Cheers. You know what I mean? Where everybody know your name, man. We used to go over to T Mac's house and you know, it would be Mac Man over there, be T Mac over there. Me and Sinful used to come through, and any given time, it's gonna be some random different hoes coming through there. You know what I mean? And sometimes we'll have action, knock some, get a break in, whatever the case may be. You know, it was just like a boiling pot, like a for hoes to come through. You know what I mean? We always had something cooking at T Mac house. You know what I mean? And, yeah, so T Mac was real cool. Mac Man was cool, but see, y'all probably heard me tell the story about how Mac Man was a crafty motherfucker. See, T Mac and Mac Man, they both had they old school ways about themselves, man. But as simple like to say veteran moves, you know what I mean? T Mac and Mac Man had some veteran moves, but uh Mac Man, I would have to say, was the craftiest. Mac Man was one of them type of motherfuckers who steal something from you and then help you look for it. That's Mac Man, right? So you know, Mac Man a influence on us too. You know, shout out to Mac Man. You know, but yeah, so these is the days when we get real tight with each other. And then eventually when Sinful didn't have Priceless no more, he ended up knocking another hoe named Gigi. Now, Gigi is the one, if y'all recall, you know, them court videos, the bitch who was on the stand and was like, yeah, I told Philip that she looked kind of young. When the girl came, I told him that she looked kind of young. That's Gigi. And by the way, Gigi was lying. She never said that to Sinful. She never said to Sinful that she thought the girl was young. That's a lie. As Sinful said out of his own mouth to y'all, I was the only one who questioned the girl's age, right? But Everybody else just accepted that she was 19 years old, even the police, right? But that's a whole nother story. But so when Sinful had Gigi, he started knocking a bunch of other hoes too. He ended up getting a hoe that I had. Matter of fact, the white girl that I went cross country with, that was Mika. Mika, when Mika got out on me, you know, shortly after that, Sinful ended up knocking her. So he had Gigi, he had Mika, he had Desire. Desire was a red bone, pretty little red bone out of Seattle. You know what I mean? Uh, Chris Herndon, good looking with the $20 holler. Uh, so he had Gigi, he had Priceless. I mean, no, he didn't have Priceless no more. He had Gigi, he had Mika, he had Desire, and then another hoe that I had did now Simple did he did some snake shit on me with this one. You know what I mean? With Tasty. Nicole Morton. She was in the Nicole Morton is Tasty. Tasty is the one who they tried to say was a minor, but Tasty was actually an adult, right? Tasty was, I think, 18 years old at that time. And Tasty is out of Portland. Shout out to Tasty. But I had Tasty for like a split second. I don't even think I had Tasty for a whole day. You know what I mean? But I had set Tasty down on Boulder Highway and then didn't have her no more. And Sinful ended up with Tasty, right? So he got Gigi, he got Mika, he got Desire, he got Tasty, and I don't know if she was still there no more. For a second, he had this. It was this old white bitch that used to be around Vegas, right? She was older than us, like she was in her 30s at the time. So to us, she was like an old bitch, right? But um, I forget her name, but I think she was from California somewhere. She was an older blonde white girl, and uh, she fucked with a few different cats from California before, and um, Sinful had her for a second. She was an alcoholic, right? She was an old alcoholic bitch. So he had Gigi, Mika, Desire, uh, 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 Tasty. Those was like the main ones that he had. Uh, he had the old drunk white bitch for a second, but I don't think she was around that long. He had another bitch named KC, white girl that wasn't around that long. Uh, and then after that, he ended up knocking Star, which Star is the one who said she was 19 but ended up being 14, right? So, you know, that should give y'all some context as to what was going on with Sinful. You know, a lot of times, this is how a lot of pimps catch cases. A lot of pimps take falls, right? Because they be deep. Anybody who done been in the game for real, you done seen this happen so many times with different P's, right? Especially younger pimps. You know, a lot of times younger pimps start, getting a lot of action. They start getting deep, having a bunch of hoes, right? Like Divine Peace say, moving too fast. You know what I mean? We all kind of go through that when we young in the game, man. When you young and your catch hand is fast and you having a bunch of hoes, you know, um, see, you got a lot of older cats. Now that they're older, they can try to rewrite history because their history ain't documented, and it ain't a lot of people who can verify their history, right? But anybody who was around Sinful, because Sinful was well known even back then, especially in California and Vegas and even New Orleans, right? So, anybody who seen him and what he had going on back then, and anybody who can relate to being a young pimp. See, even though I'm older now, I still remember what it's like to be young and fresh in the game, and you excited because you get so much action from all these different bitches, and you ain't never been in trouble before. you're not gonna question everything. You know what I mean? So that's what it was. When Sinful knocked Star, she was like the sixth one on the team. You know, she the sixth one, and he got all these other five hoes that he dealing with, and he young. This is his first time being deep like that. He ain't even got a whole year in the game yet, so he's still kind of green to a certain extent. He's still kind of fresh in the game, and he got all these hoes to deal with now, and and he ends up knocking Star. Now when he knocked Star, I'll never forget. We always Simple probably I think he told y'all this story too, right? But but we at T Mac's house, right? Because like I said, we used to always be at T Mac house, and T Mac used to cook for us sometimes too, right? T Mac liked to cook. So one day, uh Simple go buy some groceries, right? And he Simple pull up to T Mac house. He got all five of his hoes with him, right? And he pull up to T Mac house, and the hoes just walk inside the house, right? And me, him, and T Mac standing there, and Simple grabbing groceries and shit, right? And he tell me and T Mac, he said, "Hey man, could y'all help me with these groceries?" And I snapped on Simple. I said, "Nigga, you trying to have two pimps? You trying to put two pimps to work, man? You trying to have some pimps doing hard labor? You got all the motherfucking hoes in the house, nigga. You better put them hoes to work, nigga. You better have them hoes come grab these motherfucking groceries, nigga. Matter of fact, you put your groceries down, nigga. Have them hoes come get the motherfucking groceries, man. Trying to have the pimp doing all this hard work. You got all the motherfucking hoes, got 50 toes in the motherfucking house sitting down while you got the pimps. You trying to put the pimps to work. Nigga, you better put the motherfucking hoes to work." Oh shit. So that's what he did. You know what I mean? He ended up having them hoes come down and grab the motherfucking groceries, you know? Right. Who was that? Mr. Bron 71. Yeah, you remember when Simple told that story, huh? Yeah. So so yeah, we used to always be at T Mac's house, but when he knocked Star, I'll never forget. We over there at T Mac house chilling, and Simple walk in with all his hoes, and he got this Star girl, right? And he telling us that he just knocked this girl. And she walk in, and you know uh she was a girl who was kind of like well developed for her age, right? So to the untrained eye, mind, and ear, she might appear to be 19 years old, as she said, right? Because she has a body like a 19-year-old. But um and she wasn't even at the house that long, right? But it was something about her mannerism that stood out to me, that made me think that she was young, right? So Wild Wild West Freeze, remember Fancy? I don't remember Fancy. I remember Tasty, but I don't remember Fancy. But no, so Jessica blessings. So like I said, they walk in the house. He got all these hoes with him, and he got Star, who he just knocked. He telling us about how he just knocked her, and she 19 years old, this, that, and the third. And I didn't say nothing at that time, but I just made a mental note to myself, like she looked young. Just her mannerisms, the way she was walking, her demeanor, her body language. She just struck me as a young girl, right? And I am the only one. And Sinful told y'all while he was still here that Freeze was the only one who questioned that girl's age. Everybody else, T Mac at the time is in his late 50s. Mac Man at the time is in his late 50s. Another person who's seen T Mac, who's seen Sinful with this girl, I think he was there when Sinful knocked her, was Confidence. Confidence is another individual who was in his late 50s. So all these dudes is almost 60 years old. Sinful 23 at the time, right? And they all accepted that she was grown. that she was 19. These dudes that's old enough to be her grandfather thought she was 19 years old, right? All of his other hoes thought that she was not. He had 5 other hoes. They all thought she was 19 years old. You know what I mean? And when she went to jail, the police thought she was 19 years old. They arrested her under the pretense that she was a grown woman. The only one who said anything to Sinful about this girl's age was myself, right? So, like I said, when I first seen her that first day, I didn't say nothing, but in my mind, I was thinking, when the time is right, I'm gonna ask bro about this girl, right? So it was probably the next day. We on the strip. We in Harris Casino. We sit next to some slot machines at Harris, right? And that's when I told Sinful, I say, hey man, that new chick that you just knocked, man. How old is she? He like, oh, she 19, man. I said, you sure? He like, yeah, she 19. I said, how you know? He said she showed me ID. She got ID. And then he told y'all out his own mouth. I said that. I said, well, uh, a lot of these girls be having fake ID, man. So you don't know for sure if her ID is real or not. He like, well, man, she showed me ID. She say she 19, man. So I believe she 19. And I kind of just left it at that. I didn't really press the issue too tough, right? But I did say something to him, and then not long after that is when he ended up catching the case, right? So yeah, he ended up catching the case. He ended up getting arrested at the Plaza Hotel, downtown Las Vegas. He was staying at the Plaza when they got up on him. You know what I mean? Police bust in his hotel room. I think he had 2 hoes there with him. I think Tasty was with him. Was Tasty with him? I think Tasty and somebody else. I can't remember who the other one was. I think it was 2 hoes with him when the police ran up on him. Tasty and I think somebody else, right? But whatever the case, right? They bust in, throw him on the ground, knock his hat off his head. He had a hat on, they knocked his hat off. You know what I mean? Real aggressive with him and everything like that. And uh, the reason why this happened is because the girl Star, it was Star and I want to say Gigi. It was no, it was Star and Tasty, I think it was. But whatever the case, right? Star and one of the other chicks, they get arrested on Boulder Highway together, right? So they take them to uh, CCDC. So now they in jail in CCDC, and the girl Star, who even the police thought was 19 years old, she's in jail in CCDC, and she was there for 3 days before they found out how old she was. And they only found out how old she was because she got tired of sitting there. So she told them how old she really was. You know what I mean? So they didn't even know. Okay, go young DJ. You remember the story. So yeah, it was Gigi. So I guess it was Gigi and Tasty. I believe Tasty was there too, right? So Wild Wild West, it was a lot of Gigi's running around at Vegas. You're right, because I remember several different GGs from that time. It was kind of like a common name back then, right? But yeah, so you know, Star go to jail, Boulder Highway. They take her to CCDC. She's sitting at CCDC for 3 days, 72 hours before she finally get tired of sitting there and she tell them how old she is, right? And then, that's what led to Sinful catching that case, right? So Huck, she didn't testify as far as getting on the stand. She didn't get on the stand or nothing like that, but she did, to my understanding, she made a statement. But and that's how they end up getting on Sinful. So, he catch the case, he go to jail, you know, Gigi come back all hysterical. Yeah, matter of fact, Gigi was in the room because after this shit happened, Gigi came to T Mac house and I was there. T Mac was there, and she was all frantic. You know what I mean? Telling me and T Mac what happened. You know what I mean? So T Mac, he an old Milwaukee nigga. You know what I mean? Now me, I ain't even trying to have Gigi. I'm not even thinking about Gigi. In my mind, that's Sinful's hoe. So I'm not even thinking about trying to have Gigi. But T Mac, he go immediately in the T Mac mode, and he end up having Gigi. And now he's sending Gigi and breaking on Gigi, and going up in Gigi, having fun with Gigi, all that. So um, uh, it just go to show you, man, that these hoes ain't worth tripping over, man. These hoes ain't worth fighting over. They're not worth killing over. It ain't never that serious, right? Because you see what they do. Sinful goes to jail. He wasn't even jail, I don't think, a whole 24 hours before Gigi started fucking with T Mac. You know what I mean? So uh this is a big reason why it don't make sense to fight or trip or get into it with the pimping about a hoe. And not just that, like I've said before, and I'm gonna get into that in a minute. You know what I mean? It's a low self-esteem that allows you to do that type of shit. See, Sinful always had a high self-esteem, so he wasn't even tripping about that shit. When he found out that Gigi was fucking with T Mac, he wasn't even tripping on that shit. You know what I mean? Because that man was a pimp thoroughly, right? His self esteem was always intact. So he always understood his value, and that's why he never tripped on no shit like that, right? But so I remember when Sinful he goes down, you know, I'm asking him, I remember one time when he first got arrested, right? I called the jail and he had 11 charges, 11 different counts, right? And each count had a different bail amount. So I remember I called the jail and I was talking to this little young black chick who answered the phone. I'm asking her about Sinful's bail, right? And um, she telling me each charge in the bail amount for each one, right? So I didn't write this shit down. She telling me, she like, yeah, this charge is, the bail for this charge is this much, and the bail for this charge is that much. You know what I mean? He had like 11 different counts, right? So at the end of her naming off all the shit, I'm like, okay, what's the total of all of those bails combined? She was like, boy, I ain't got time to be sitting up here and trying to do math and count all them bills. That's a lot of bills. I ain't trying to figure that out. She just was raw with me on the phone like that, right? But his bail was sky high, needless to say, right? Now, um, but whatever the case, the whole time he was in jail, I forget how long he was in the county. I think he was in the county for about a year, I think, or almost a year, something close to a year. Simple, like $1 million, right? Yeah, that shit was sky high. You know what I mean? And she wasn't trying to do the math, but Simple sit in the county for a minute, and uh, to dispel the piece or to give clarity on the PC rumors, right? Now, because a lot of people talk about how Sinful was in PC, but see, it's a lot of people that was locked up with Sinful that remember being locked up with Sinful that was on the main line with Sinful, right? So that's how you kill the bullshit, man. It's too many people who done vouched and said they was on the main line with Sinful, right? What happened was, because of the type of charges that he had, balance, good looking with the $100 holla, blessings, indeed. Because of the type of charges that Sinful had, see, when you go to jail and you have certain types of charges, they just automatically put you in PC, protective custody. You know, it's not something that you got to request or whatever the case may be. So because of the type of charges that Sinful had, they put him in PC. Now, when that's your case, when that's your situation, you can get out of PC by signing a waiver. Basically, you sign something, saying that if anything happens to you, being in general population, that you can't, it ain't the jail's fault, basically. You know, you holding yourself responsible if something happened to you. You can't blame the jail because the jail did their part, put you in protective custody. So if you decide to waive to sign that waiver and go into the main line and something happened to you, it's on you. It's not on the jail because they did their part, right? That's how that go. So it's not like Sinful went to jail and was scared and requested to be in PC. No, they automatically put him in PC because of his charges. And after that, he wasn't even in PC that long. He signed the waiver to go to the main line, then they put him on the main line. You know what I mean? And he was in the county, like I said, probably close to a year or something like that. Then he ended up going to the pen out there in Nevada. And throughout that whole time, you know what I mean, I was looking out for him, you know, taking his phone calls, putting money on his books, shit like that. You know what I mean? And then so he did 3 years for the most part, right? But there was a couple of short periods where he got out and then they violated him, right? Now, y'all remember the paper that I showed you? I made a post a few days ago with a paper that his lawyer gave him, saying that he didn't have to register as a sex offender, right? Um, I can't remember if it was the first time or the second time. See, I think it was the first time. He so he gets arrested April. King Drew, what's up with it? Sinful gets arrested April 2008, right? April 2008, he get arrested. The first time he got out on parole was March 2010, right? So almost 2 years later, he get out on parole 2010. He ain't even out that long. I don't even know if he was out a month. He probably wasn't even out a whole month. They violate him for not registering as a sex offender, right? Because at the time they trying to make it like he got to, but he refusing to do that. And he knows in his mind that, because when you parole, you got to agree to certain conditions of parole, and that wasn't in his conditions. That wasn't in his sentencing. You know, they put that in your sentencing. When you get sentenced, when you commit a crime and you get sentenced, and they put certain stipulations with the sentence, like you got to do so much time in jail, you got to pay so much restitution, and you got to register as a sex offender. You know what I mean? That's how that go. They put that in your sentencing, but that wasn't a part of his sentencing. He got sentenced to so much prison time, and I don't know if he had restitution. I kind of want to say he didn't have no restitution, but and they never said that he had to register as a sex offender. So when he made parole and they violate him for not registering as a sex offender, you know, uh, naturally he didn't go for that. So they violate him. Like I said, he get out March 2010. I want to say it was probably like April or something like that, 2010. He go back to jail. Uh, and this time he stays in jail, I think until I want to say September. Yeah, he get out of jail September 2010, because when he got out of jail, I was in Minnesota campaigning, and that's when I knocked Carmen. For those of y'all who recall, some months back I made a video about somebody that I had in my life named Carmen. When Sinful got out of jail September 2010, that's where I was at. I was in Minnesota in the process of turning out Carmen. So he get out, he calling me from the halfway house and shit like that. Early October, like the first week of October, I make it back to Vegas. And when I make it back to Vegas, he got Tasty back. Tasty, like I said, was with him when he got arrested, when he first caught the case in 2008. So he get out September 2010, the second time, and he got Tasty, right? And once again, that second time, I don't even think he was out for
a couple weeks. You know what I mean? He wasn't out that long. I know for sure he wasn't out for a whole month. I want to say he was probably out for like 2 or 3 weeks, and then they violate him again. This time they violated him. It was something to do with his living conditions. I don't know if he didn't put down the address where he was paroling to or some shit like that because his grandmother had passed away, right? Yeah, matter of fact, the second time, that's what it was. His grandmother passed away. Um, he couldn't parole to his grandmother's house because his grandmother left the house to his uncle. Him and his uncle wasn't seeing eye to eye, so he couldn't parole to his grandmother's house when he got out the second time. So um, the second time, basically, he didn't have no address to parole to, so they violated him for that. You know what I mean? And then after that, he doesn't get out again until I want to say March 2011. Yeah, he get out March 2011. You know what I mean? When he get out March 2011, we link back up. We doing our thing. See, when he get out March 2011, now he ain't on parole. You know what I mean? He ain't got to deal with parole no more. He they call it maxing out. He maxed out, right? So he maxes out. He gets out March 2011. You know, and right after that, we go to Minnesota. It was his first time going to Minnesota. Because, see, when he got out the second time, that was my first time. When he got out the second time in September 2010, that was my first time going to Minnesota. And I was just telling him how sweet Minnesota was. I'm like, P, man, you're going to love this motherfucker Minnesota, man. You got to come up here, man. I was even trying to give him a bitch at the time. You know what I mean? It was a little chick named Kaylee. You know what I mean? That, see, this is a lesson to the pimping, right? A lot of times pimping be having action at friends. You have the opportunity to knock two girls that just so happen to be friends. It's never a good idea to knock two girls that's friends, right? The wise pimpish thing to do would be to decide which one of the friends you want for yourself and pass the other friend to your partner. So that was the situation that I had, right? And it was perfect for Sinful because he was fresh out of jail. You know what I mean? He's staying in the halfway house, and you know, I had some action for him. But the only thing was, we was in Minnesota, right? And see, at the time, Sinful had a flip phone. This is kind of like, see, when he was locked up, that's when the transition kind of happened where people wasn't really fucking with flip phones too tough no more. And now the Androids is starting to get popular. The iPhones is kind of getting popular too, right? And so everybody got Androids and iPhones now, 2011. And I mean 2010, right? And Simple got this little ass Virgin Mobile flip phone. I told y'all, man, I used to get on Simple, man, because man, even long after he got out of jail, man, and he started getting on his feet, start having money and shit, you know what I mean, and start getting back in his dress code, man, start wearing these suits looking like $1 million, you know what I mean? I was his barber, by the way, before Simple went to Canada. 90% of the time when you seen him with a haircut, I didn't, right? So, I'm cutting his hair, making his hair look like, God reached down from the heavens and personally touched his head, got his haircut looking heavenly, you know what I mean? And he got these suits on looking like $1 million. And there's been so many times where Simple be sitting there talking to a badass bitch, man, in the middle of his conversation. And I used to be like, bro, you have to get a better phone, man. You got money, man. Go get you a better phone, bro. Man, I don't need no phone. Cause see what it was, um, he had a phone and then he had an iPod, right? Now, the iPods back at that time was cool because you could connect to Wi-Fi. Did you need Wi-Fi? Yeah, I think you did. But anyway, with the iPods, right? You can connect to Wi-Fi and you can do everything on your iPod. You can get on Facebook, get on Instagram, You get on the internet, surf the web, whatever. You could do all that shit from the iPod. And see, while he had this flip phone, at the same time, he had the iPod. So everything that your smartphone could do, he would use the iPod for that. And then for talking and texting, he would use the flip phone. But I used to tell him, bro, like you could put both of those in one device, man. Get you a smartphone, man, and do away with that motherfucking flip phone and stop letting hoes hear that motherfucking ringtone, man. That he used to kill me with that shit, man. It took forever for him to finally get an Android, man. Like he went a long time, or no, was it an Android or a BlackBerry? One of those, I think he had a BlackBerry at first, something like that. But it took forever for him to get rid of that flip phone. But I say all of that to say, when he got out the second time in September 2010, I'm in Minnesota. I got these two fresh turnouts. You know what I mean? I got Carmen, who I ended up having for almost 6 years, and I got Kaylee. You know what I mean? Kaylee just turned 18, you know what I mean? Beautiful little chick. And, I thought it would be perfect for Sinful because the situation was when I first met them, right? I meet Carmen first. And then after I meet Carmen, Carmen was coming to my hotel room, kicking it with me every day. You know what I mean? But I was just doing some marvelous, beautiful pimping. You know what I mean? I was getting all into her head. I wasn't trying to get in her body. And I know that was the first time she ever experienced something like that. She 19 years old, not too far out of high school, and she coming to a man's hotel every day, and he ain't trying to have sex with her. You know what I mean? I'm just I'm getting in her head. I'm putting game. I'm letting this game stay in her brain. You know what I mean? So you know, Carmen had a friend. Her friend was Kaylee. So one day she called me and called me to come kick it, and she said, "Yeah, I got my friend with me. You got a friend for her?" I said, "Yeah." You know what I mean? So I end up trying to line her up with my friend. They kicked it, but it didn't go right for whatever reason. And then uh the next day after that, Carmen called me again, and she said, "Yeah, we want to come kick it with you again, but Kaylee don't want. She want to meet a new friend of yours. If you got a new friend, she don't want to be with the friend that she was with yesterday, right? That you had with you yesterday." I say, "I don't have no other friends up here. I ain't from Minnesota. I don't know nobody up here." And she say, "Well, okay, well we just gonna come kick it with you then." I say, "Cool." So they both come over. Now I've been working at Carmen, so I pretty much got Carmen locked in. Kaylee, you know, now it's like I got action at her too. But I'm telling Kaylee, I'm like, yeah, you really need, I'm gonna introduce you to one of my friends, right? So she like, well, where your friends at? Freeze, where your friends at? I'm like, well, first of all, you know, uh, my friends is in different places. You know what I mean? Because I ain't really let the cat out the bag with Kaylee just yet. Carmen already know what it is because I've been pimping at Carmen. Kaylee don't really know what it is, right? So so Kaylee, I say, yeah, all my friends in different states. She's like, well, that's cool. I'm willing to go somewhere else. You know what I mean? I just want to meet one of your friends. I say, well, another thing about my friends, all my friends is pimps. Oh, that's cool. You know what I mean? It's cool that they pimps, but introduce me to one of your friends. So I showed her a picture of one friend. He was bald headed. She didn't like that. I showed her a picture of another friend. She didn't like him. I showed her a picture of Sinful. And she was like, oh, I like him. You know what I mean? So I called Sinful. He at the halfway house with this motherfucking flip phone. And I'm like, yeah, man, I put her on the phone with Sinful. They get to talking. She done seen the look. She liking the look. Now they talking. She like a Sinful conversation. And you know what I mean? I sent a picture to Sinful, but he got this flip phone, so the quality of the picture, and then it's so small on that flip phone, he couldn't really see. He couldn't really because Kaylee was bad. You know what I mean? She was a bad little white girl, you know what I mean? Bisquick thick, pretty in the face, you know what I mean? Just young and fine. So I sent Simple a picture of her. He see the picture, but he ain't really enthused. He ended up seeing her, a couple years later and was like, damn, that's her? I was like, yeah, P, I try to tell you. You know what I mean? But the picture didn't serve no justice. It ain't really his fault. But anyway, Yeah, so fast forward, that was my first time in Minnesota. So fast forward, he get out 2011, and not too long after he get out, we go to Minnesota. You know what I mean? And he loving Minnesota. You know what I mean? We having fun out there. We moving around. We campaigning. We getting hella action. You know what I mean? And he ends up knocking. Uh, uh, Damn, I can't believe I can't remember that girl's name. Fuck. Damn, what is that girl's name? The girl from Minnesota. The first girl from Minnesota that he knocked. Uh, Fuck, I can't believe I can't remember that girl's name. Damn, that shit bothered me. But anyway, he ends up knocking this girl from Minnesota, man. Little pretty little brown skinned girl, you know, and we end up going to California, you know. Once he knocked her, because he knocked her, that was the same time? Yeah, you know what? It was the same time. So when he knocked her, I knocked this little brown skinned chick named Nikki. You know what I mean? Now, for those of y'all who remember my story about me hiding behind the soda machine at the hotel when the police was searching the hotel looking for me, and I'm hiding behind the soda machine for like 4 hours, that's Nikki. You know what I mean? So when I knocked Nikki, uh, damn, that shit bothered me. I can't remember that girl name. But Sinful knocked the chick that he knocked around the same time that I knocked Nikki. Like I knocked Nikki, and then right after I knocked Nikki, he knocked the little brown skin chick. So when I knocked Nikki, I go back to California. You know what I mean? I had a little fallout with Nikki. She put the people in my business. Then that went the way it went. Then shortly after that, that's when Sinful comes to California. You know what I mean? And we doing our thing out there, right? And you know, he had that chick for a little while. She was all right, you know what I mean? But then he started knocking other, better quality chicks. And, because that chick gave him a lot of drama. The little chick that he knocked from Minnesota, she was a handful. She was giving him a whole bunch of drama. You know what I mean? But but yeah, so he started knocking other chicks, he started moving around, doing his thing, man. And through all of that, we just got real tight with each other, you know. And Sinful and me, we always been tight, from early on, right? And we only got tighter over the years. But see, um, we would oftentimes get cool with different individuals, and we would try to have those individuals, we would grant them the opportunity to try to be as tight with us as we was with each other. You know what I mean? We allow certain different third individuals to try to fit into that mix. But, you know, time, they never stood the test of time. Time always showed us that they wasn't for us. You know what I mean? And it would always boil down to just Sinful and myself. You know what I mean? Now other individuals was cool with us, and we didn't fall out with. But as far as, people that we tried to be tight with, 9 times out of 10, they will fall off in a fucked up way. What God's gift say? Free's voice. My friends like to break on bitches and go hard on hoes. Her, that's fine. I like that. I like that. Break on bitches, laugh my ass off, and go hard on hoes. That's funny. Y'all stupid. That's cool. I like getting broke on. I like getting mashed on. That's cool. Mr. Brian 71, good looking with the $10 holler. Yeah, man. So you know, over the years, man, Sinful and myself, we stood the test of time. You know, we went through a lot of things together. You know, we went through a lot of things individually that we had each other's backs for. And, you know, as much as y'all see me being a brother to him, he was that much of a brother to me as well, right? That's what I want y'all to understand, because y'all see the way I'm handling this situation right now, and it y'all see it as a remarkable thing, and that's cool, right? Like, damn, Freeze really hold it down for sin, so on and so forth, right? That's cool, and I appreciate y'all for that, right? But what I want y'all to understand is that just as much as I'm a brother to Sinful was that much of a brother to me as well, you know? And just as much as I hold him down, he didn't held me down, right? Uh, like I've said before, there have been times where, I done bailed him out of jail, he done bailed me out of jail, you know, uh, we done been there for each other when we didn't have nobody else, you know, it's so many situations that we done been through that that there was major deposits in the bank account of our brotherhood. You understand? Like, um, these are things that just made us so tight with each other. And we came to a point where we could trust each other in ways that we couldn't trust nobody else. You know what I mean? Like, it's and it ain't no slight to my family or his family, but when you fucking with somebody every day and you going through shit with somebody in the streets and all type of shit like that, you just naturally create a bond with somebody like that. So the type of bond that we had was, a bond that, even siblings of ours we didn't have with them. You know what I mean? The type of bond that we had with each other. So when you got somebody that, you could trust, especially when so many people around you have proven themselves to be untrustworthy. Like, so many motherfuckers that we'd have been cool with had ended up proving themselves to be untrustworthy, right? So when you go through shit with different people and different motherfuckers betray you, turn their back on you, and all this whole type of shit, and every time you look up, you see the same individual standing there, you just, over time, you come to trust that individual more and more. Jessica Holland, good looking with the $100 holler. You dig? Thank you, thank you. But yeah, man, and that's what made us so tight with each other. Not to mention we got so much in common, right? So this is something that I broke down when I was live on IG last night. So I'm gonna get into it again and maybe even touch on some other things as well, right? But uh, when I look at Sinful and myself, when I think about what I know about his childhood and what I know about my childhood, and I line them up side by side with one another, we had a lot of similarities in our childhoods that had a lot to do with why we became so tight with each other, right? See, um, this is why G Twilight, as always, good looking with a $20 holler. Um, this is why it's so imperative, right? For those of you that are parents and you raising children, this is why it is so imperative to to show love to your children, right? Make your children have a clear understanding that you love them. And then not just that, but to encourage your children in whatever they passionate about. Even if it's something that you don't necessarily agree with, as long as they ain't hurt nobody, whatever your children are passionate about, it's important to encourage them, right? Because this is how you build their self-esteem. And when I look back at all the people who turned their back on Sinful, people who turned their back on me, motherfuckers that we consider to be pimp partners and things like that, um, the difference between us and them is self-esteem. You know, now sometimes people might misinterpret somebody's self-esteem with confidence, because somebody might have a good situation and they're confident based on their situation, but they still have a low self-esteem. This is why sometimes people with more money than you can be jealous of you. This is why sometimes people that might have more hoes than you can be jealous of you. Or if you a hoe, you know, uh, people that might, have something about themselves that you don't have yet as a young hoe, certain hoes gonna be jealous of you, right? But a lot of it got to do with self-esteem. When I look back at all the different individuals who like I said turn their back on us and snaked us or tried to snake us in some type of way or showed themselves to be untrustworthy, that's what it boiled down to: low self-esteem. A lot of them dudes had low self-esteem, and if we would have understood that early on and understood how crucial it is to be around other people who have a high self-esteem, a lot of them dudes we never would have been cool with. A lot of them dudes we never would have allowed in our mix like that. And that's one thing that opened up the gateway for Sinful and I to be so tight with each other and develop the brotherhood that we had because of our self-esteems, right? I got a high self-esteem. Sinful had a high self-esteem, right? I understand my value. Sinful understood his value. Now, the value that you understand about yourself doesn't have to do with your situation, your monetary situation, your materialistic situation. Uh, you know, your self-esteem don't have to do with that, because if your self-esteem is truly intact, your self-esteem is going to be intact when you don't have nothing. You could be broke as a joke, and your self-esteem is still going to be intact. You still going to understand your value. You still going to understand that you can create whatever situation you want to create if you put your mind to it and put the work in to make it happen, right? When your self-esteem is intact, you understand that. But some people who get lucky and luck up on good situations, when they lose that situation, they self-esteem go right with it. And they don't feel the same. They don't have the same, they don't feel as valuable if they don't have certain shit going on. If they lose their car, lose their jewelry, lose their house, lose their hoes, they, this is why a lot of people fall off and stay off. Pimping, we go through things. So, pimping, we go leaking sometimes. But a real pimp is gonna get himself out of that. And a big part of the way that a real pimp get himself out of that is his self-esteem, understanding his value, understanding that, he might be broke as a joke. He might not have two nickels to rub together in his pocket, but a badass money getting ass bitch in a motherfucking Bentley pull up on him hopping out with Chanel bags and all type of shit, and he still can say something to that bitch that'll get her to understand his value and end up knocking that bitch. This what your self-esteem do. See, a lot of cats, if they fucked up, they gonna be intimidated by a bitch like that. When your self-esteem is intact, ain't a bitch on the planet that can intimidate you, right? And that's what Sinful and myself had about ourselves. You know what I mean? True high self-esteem. Now, you know, how does somebody have a high self-esteem like that? Like I just said a minute ago, that's why it's important for parents to show love to your children. This is why it's important to encourage your children about whatever they passionate about. Whatever it is they passionate about, whatever dreams they have, you have to encourage that, you know, and you have to get them to have a clear understanding that you love them, and you got to show love. You got to display love in your every interaction with your children. It's imperative, because this is how you develop that high self-esteem in your children, so that when they grow up, they only add to it. It just evolves and becomes more refined, and becomes more solidified, so that now when they're an adult, their self-esteem is intact. And myself, you know when I was growing up, I had two parents that I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt loved me, even though they wasn't perfect. You know what I mean? Both my parents, when I was growing up, was alcoholics, but I understood that they loved me, right? Even in their alcoholism, and they wasn't together. My parents was never together throughout my whole life. You know what I mean? They wasn't together since before I was born, but they both were active in my life, and I understood that both of them loved me, right? And that was crucial, you know. And just as well as that, different talents and abilities that I had a lot of encouragement. Now, the encouragement didn't honestly come a lot from my parents, but I had other people. I had family members. I had friends. I had teachers. I had coaches. I had different people that encouraged me, that let me know that my talents and my abilities and my gifts made me valuable, right? So, and that didn't have nothing to do with no money. When I was in high school, I didn't have no whole bunch of money. I didn't have no jewelry. You know what I mean? I didn't have no fancy car, no shit like that. So it didn't have nothing to do with that. It had everything to do with what I was gifted with. You know what I mean? What the Most High blessed me with. You know, that made me valuable. And I had encouragement from a lot of different directions when I was a child that helped me understand my value early on, right? So that's me. And when you look at Sinful, when you look at his childhood, the childhood of Philip, he had the same thing. He had a mother and a grandmother who he understood beyond a shadow of a doubt, loved him dearly, right? So he was surrounded by love. See, me growing up, I was surrounded by love, and Sinful grew up surrounded by love. He understood that he was loved, and he understood the value of love, and he understood that that made him valuable, right? And at the same time, you know, he had certain gifts. He was gifted with music. He could play the piano. He could sing, and he was gifted with speaking. He was gifted with ministry, right? And he received encouragement from so many different directions that helped him understand his value when it came to that, right? So these are things that factored into his high self-esteem. And again, just like with myself, he didn't have no whole bunch of money. He didn't have no fancy car. He didn't have no bunch of jewelry. And, it wasn't anything material or monetary that made him feel like he was valuable. It was something that was within him that the Most High blessed him with, that made him understand he was valuable, right? So this is how his self-esteem developed from childhood. And that's the same way my self esteem developed from childhood. So we had a lot of things in common, when we crossed paths. We crossed paths with each other, you know, little did we understand at the time, but we both perfectly groomed for the game. You know what I mean? Because of so many things that he understood when it came to holiness, you know, uh, even though it ain't righteous at all, those things made him perfectly groomed for the game. And myself, you know, uh, certain things that I experienced in my childhood and certain influences that I had in my childhood, most specifically my father, made me perfectly groomed for the game as well. Right. So, you know, we both were blessed with certain gifts that made us perfectly fit to be in the game. Those gifts, you know, weren't made specifically for us to pimp, because like people say, pimps are born. I don't agree with that. I believe that those of us who decide to pimp are 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 born with certain gifts that make us well suited to pimp, but that's not the only thing that we can do for those get with those gifts. You know what I mean? And that's not necessarily why we were given those gifts. It's just that the gifts that we have make us perfectly suited to pimp. You know what I mean? So that's why we come into the game and make the impact on the game that we make. That's why Sinful made the impact in the game that he did, you know. But like I said, a lot of it has to do with high self-esteem. Now, when you're young in the game, you're gonna bump your head, you're gonna make mistakes, man, and you're gonna surround yourself with people that you ain't got no business surrounding yourself with. But remember, Freeze told you, to the young individuals, not just young pimps and not just young hoes, but just young people, period. Remember, Freeze told you, man, a lot of times people who do you wrong, people who got low self-esteem. Put some love in my body, man. If you have not wiped your feet off at the door when you stepped into a pimp's domain, please do so now, man. Hit that like button. But yeah, man, it's imperative to do your best. You know, even the best of us let the wrong people slip through the cracks and allow the wrong people in our lives, right? The best of us do that. So, you can anticipate, especially if you're young, you can anticipate allowing yourself to be around the wrong people and allowing the wrong people to get close to you and allowing yourself to trust the wrong people, right? But like I said, remember Freeze told you, man, do your best to only surround yourself with people with a high self-esteem. And the reality of it is the majority of people don't have a high self-esteem. There's going to be very few people in your life that have a high self-esteem. It's not going to be the majority. It's definitely going to be the minority. And especially in the game, especially when it comes to pimping and hoeing. Now, like I said before, right? Sinful and myself, we used to laugh about this all the time because, once upon a time, we used to have these different groups on Facebook with pimps and hoes, right? And we had this one particular group that was nothing but pimps in there. And this one guy in the group, he made a comment one day and said, all pimps have insecurities, right? And me and Sinful used to laugh about that shit because we was like, man, how the fuck a pimp got insecurities? Ain't no way in the world a pimp got insecurities. But, you know, we was a lot younger at that time. But now that I'm older and I have so many different points of reference now that I didn't have back then, I have a much better understanding, that a lot of guys have a low self-esteem. This is why Sinful and myself, we were each other's favorite campaign partner. You know what I mean? If you was to ask Sinful, you know, uh, who was his favorite person to campaign with, he gonna say me. If you ask me, I'm gonna say Sinful. It's certain reasons for that, right? The main reason is the high self-esteem and how it allows you to be. See, people with low self-esteem, they're gonna smile in your face, but they gonna, that jealousy is gonna rear its ugly head one way or another, right? And when you campaign with people with low self-esteem, sooner or later they're gonna show some kind of hatred. You know, it's just gonna show itself. And like I've said before, they try to sometimes they'll express it in a humorous type way. They try to be funny about it. You know what I mean? Like, oh man, uh, you look like this and you look like that. That's why you be getting all the action, man. Shit, I can't go nowhere with you. You gonna get all the action. Tall ass nigga, man. You know what I mean? Just cause you tall and shit, man. That's why you be getting all the action. Or light skinned nigga, man. Or swole nigga, man. Or slim nigga, man. Just cause I'm fat, man. That's why I don't get the action like you. Just cause I'm dark skinned, I don't get action like you. This the type of shit. But people say it like in a humorous type way, but they really letting you know they got a low self esteem. You know what I mean? And to be all the way 100, that's just how much love I got for the game. It's a lot of cats that I'm cool with, that I got love for in the game, but I know they got a low self-esteem. I know this. I know by the way that they deal with me. I know by the way that they deal with hoes. You know what I mean? I know by the way that they deal with people, period, that they have a low self-esteem. Motherfuckers that call themselves pimps. Some of them is well respected and well known. I know from personal experience they got a low self-esteem. And I don't love them no less. But and not everybody with a low self-esteem is gonna snake you. Not everybody with a low self-esteem is gonna do you wrong. But at the same time, you just gotta be careful around people like that. Like I've said before, some people you could trust at the curb, some people you could trust at the doorstep and not no further than that. Some people you could trust in your living room and no further than that. Some people you could trust in your guest room and no further than that. Very few people can you trust in your master bedroom. You don't let everybody in your master bedroom. You only let people that you trust in your master bedroom. You know what I mean? People that you don't trust at all, you only trust them as far as the curb. You know what I mean? And what I'm telling you is the majority of motherfuckers, you can't trust them past the curb. You go out to the curb and you talk with them, do whatever you do with them, and when you're done dealing with them, you leave them at the curb. When you go back in the house, you leave them at the curb. You know what I mean? Then it's fewer individuals that you only could trust at the doorstep. You know what I mean? You step outside on the doorstep, you talk with them, deal with them, do whatever you're going to do. And when you're done dealing with them, you leave them at the doorstep. You know, even fewer individuals you can trust in your living room. You know what I mean? But you don't let them go nowhere else in your house but the living room. You don't even let them use the bathroom. And when you're done dealing with them, you escort their ass to the door from the living room. Very fewer, even fewer people you can trust in a guest room in your house, right? You know, but you don't trust them past that. You know, you don't trust them in your master bedroom. You might let them go use your restroom or your bathroom. You know, you'll let them stay in the guest room and things like that. But you don't trust them past that. It's only very select few individuals. You know what I mean? Probably less than a handful that you can trust in your master bedroom. You know what I mean? That you can give a key to your house. You know, it's very few people that you could trust like that. And what I'm telling you is, whether you understand that or not, 9 times out of 10, the people that you trust the most, if you're somebody with a high self-esteem, you know, we're we're talking under the pretense that you have a high self-esteem. If you somebody with a high self-esteem, if you somebody that understands your value within yourself, you know, if you're somebody who understands your core, the essence of who you are as a person, and the value that pertains to that, if you understand that about yourself and you understand that you have a high self-esteem, what I want you to understand is that the people that you trust the most are also people that have a high self-esteem. Then people that you trust in your master bedroom, then people that you give a key to your house, you know what I mean? People that got a spare key to your car, shit like that. You know what I mean? People that, you know, if something happened to you, they got the combination to your safe or whatever the case may be. Those are people with a high self-esteem. You know, those are people that understand their own value too. See, it's hard for somebody to appreciate your value if they don't understand their own value. And that's where we make mistakes often. That's where we go wrong a lot of times. That's where I've gone wrong plenty of times. You know what I mean? Expecting somebody to appreciate my friendship, my brotherhood, that doesn't even appreciate their own value, that don't understand or doesn't deem themselves as valuable. Somebody with a low self-esteem, you can't expect somebody like that to appreciate you and what you bring to the table. You know, so this is what made Sinful and myself so tight with each other. You know, I understand my value. He understands his value. We understand each other's value. So that's why we could come together. You know, he ain't got to worry about me trying to do nothing underhanded with him. And I don't have to worry about him trying to do nothing underhanded with me, because, you know, we two high self-esteem motherfuckers. Like I say all the time, man, the best people to fuck with is the ones who don't need you. The best people to fuck with are the ones who don't need you. And when I say the ones who don't need you, I don't mean just monetarily. Not only do they not need you monetarily, but they don't need you socially. They don't need you emotionally. You know, they just self-sufficient. They independent. And that's what allowed us to be interdependent. The fact that we both independent. See, you can't take two dependent people and they come together and now they're interdependent. Can't do that. Two dependent individuals, somebody who's emotionally dependent, somebody who's socially dependent, somebody who's monetarily dependent. You can't take two individuals like that and put them together and now they're interdependent. Now they're creating something powerful together. You can't do that. You can't take one person who's independent and one person who's dependent, put those people together and now they're interdependent. You can't do that. It's not going to work. you know. And like I said, that's a mistake that we make often. That's a mistake that I've made far too many times. Me being an independent individual, you know, trying to rock with somebody who's dependent. It ain't gonna work. It ain't gonna go nowhere. Y'all not gonna make no progress together. Y'all not gonna have no meaning together. You just, it just ain't gonna work, you know. And it doesn't mean that you can't interact with people who have a low self-esteem. It doesn't mean that you can't love people that have a low self-esteem. It just means that you trust them only to a certain extent. You don't trust them. You don't put a responsibility on them that they can't handle. Because that's really what it is. When you trust a low self-esteem individual in a way that you shouldn't trust them, you really putting a responsibility on them that they can't handle. They're not even fit to handle this type of responsibility. Like the type of brotherhood that Sinful and I have with each other, the certain type of, uh dependability that we have with each other, I can't put that on just anybody. No matter how cool they are, no matter how funny they are, no matter how easy they are to talk to, you can't just put that on anybody. Everybody ain't responsible enough, you know. So, for people who don't understand why we were so tight, for people who don't understand our brotherhood, you know, for people to whom it's such a shock for me to be the way that I am about Sinful, that's what it is. That's what it got a lot to do with. It got a lot to do with self-esteem. I wouldn't be able to stand up for him the way that I do if I had a low self-esteem. You know, you know how many people for years, that was 6 years ago. No, 5 years ago, excuse me. That was 5 years ago when them videos came out about Sinful. The court videos, the parole board videos, all that old type of shit. You know, that was 6 years ago. And as as stressful as it can be, you know, as burdensome as it can be, when I look at it now, I really appreciate that, because it really helps separate game from lame. You know, it really helps separate the real from the fake. Had those court videos and parole board videos never came out, it's a lot of fake motherfuckers that still would have been, acting like they was cool. And, you know, the truth would have been exposed through some other kind of way. And that other kind of way that the truth might have been exposed could have been uglier. So really when them videos came out and, people really showed their true colors was Sinful, it really was like, in a lot of ways that we still don't know about to this day, it probably really helped us dodge a lot of bullets. Low key G, good looking with the $10 holla, brotherly love, indeed. That video or those videos really helped us dodge a lot of bullets. You know what I mean? And see, that's something that fortified our brotherhood that much more because you know, like I took on, I was willing to take on the whole world about Sinful. while he was here. You know what I mean? And he was the same way with me. It's just that I didn't have a situation like he did, as far as, you know, so many people in the game, so many people who represent the same lifestyle that we represent, turning their back on him. You know, uh, I didn't have that same situation like him. Now, I got a lot of people in the game that don't like me too, but you know, there's so many people in the game that still, even right now, even with him being deceased, it's still so many people that hate Sinful. Like they hate him so bad, it's like they couldn't wait for him to pass away so they could talk shit. Because they know they couldn't go with him, toe to toe. They couldn't go toe to toe verbally with him. So now that he's not here to defend himself, now it's like now they see their opportunity. So that's why they're doing what they do. You know. So I don't even sucker repelling, good looking with the $50 holla. Glory to the game, indeed. You know, one thing that I it's constantly a work in progress. It's something that I believe I'm gonna probably be working on for the rest of my life, right? But I believe I've made some progress. I've gotten a lot better at accepting people for who they are, and you know dealing with them according to who they are, and not expecting more from people than should be expected from people, right? I'm always working on that. I'm still working on that. I'm gonna continue working on that. But I believe I've gotten a whole lot better with that, right? Accepting people for who they are. See, you get mad at people and you trip on people when you expect too much from people and they don't live up to your expectations. You know, I'm getting better, and I've learned, I've gotten a lot better at not expecting more from people than should be expected. You know, so when it comes to all of these people who used to be cool with Sinful but turned their back on him when the videos came out, uh, all these people that's talking shit about him while he's deceased, uh, these are people with low self-esteem. I can't expect them to be like me. I can't expect them to have dignity. I can't expect them to show class. I can't expect that from them. They don't even. They're not even capable of that. They don't have that in them to do that. So it would be silly of me to expect these. I ain't even gonna say no names, but all these people on social media, all these people, especially the people here on YouTube, all the people on YouTube that are that have said something derogatory about Sinful the P since he passed away. These are people with low self-esteem. These are people who are not secure within who they are. These are people who need this. They need this. Listen, man, some people, if they didn't have a social media account, they would have killed themselves a long time ago because they know they ain't shit. They know they ain't valuable. And if they didn't have this, if they didn't have an outlet, an advent to say something and then have a bunch of people like and agree with what they say, a lot of people, if they didn't have that, they would have hurt themselves a long time ago. Seriously. So they need this. And, you know, some people don't have the charisma of a Sinful to P. Well, most people don't have that. Damn near nobody has that. Some people don't have, you know, the type of mind and conversation and they don't have that thing about them that commands people's attention and holds people's attention. They can't get your attention and they can't retain your attention unless they're talking about somebody else who's important, right? That's the only way they can get your attention and retain your attention is by talking about somebody else or something else that's important, right? And I understand that. That's and people like that you can't expect too much from. You can't expect those types of people to pass up the opportunity to talk shit about somebody who was way funnier than them, way more charismatic than them, better looking than them, smarter than them, who's now deceased, and they've been jealous of this individual all this time, and they were scared to say something because they know if they did, the type of roasting that was gonna come was gonna be unbearable. But in their minds now, they don't have to be worried about getting roasted after they say something about Sinful to P. They don't have that fear anymore. So now they feel like they got a license to hate. You know, I told y'all a long time ago, man, social media is like the DMV for haters. You know, the moment you create a social media account, you officially have a license to be a hater. You have a license to be a sucker. You have a license to be everything that you wish you could be in real life but never will be. Now you have a license to be that on social media. So social media is the DMV for haters. And they give a license to anybody. You don't have to pass no tests. You don't have to do a written test. You don't have to do a behind the wheel test. All you do is go to the DMV, aka social media, create an account, and now you have a license to be whatever you want to be, man. So uh I can't expect these people to be any more than what they are. And see, Rico or Richo, I don't know how you say your name. You say I gotta roast that individual, man. But it's not even worth it. It ain't even no fun. That individual is struggling with drugs and homelessness and you know identity crisis and all kind of shit, man. And then that's a kid. I'm literally twice that individual's age, man. I ain't got no business, you know, going back and forth with somebody like that. Like me, I ain't gonna do it. That ain't even no fun for me. That's not even fun. To roast somebody like that, that's like picking on somebody that's mentally challenged or handicapped or something like that. It's not even fair. It's not even fair for me to, roast somebody like that. You know, I can't do it. You know, it ain't even fair. So, and then not only is it not fair, but you know, uh, I don't like feeding the animals, man. When you go to the zoo, they got them signs that say "Don't feed the animals." And I've given in to the temptation of feeding the animals because we all get tempted to feed the animals sometimes, man. Sometimes it's fun to feed the animals. You know, sometimes you hold a treat in front of the animal and you say, "Roll over, play dead." You know what I mean? Sit. Give me five. All of those type of shit, right? It's fun. It can be fun feeding the animals, man. But I do my best to not feed the animals. The animals ain't. I'm not gonna feed them. At least not. I'm not gonna feed them what they want to be fed. And what everybody probably would expect me to feed them. They not important enough, man. And then you gotta understand, like I say all the time, man. You only have 1,440 minutes within a day. You do understand that every minute is crucial. Every minute counts. Every minute is important. You have 1,440 minutes within a day. See, most people look at days in terms of hours. You got 24 hours within a day. That's cool, but what works better for me is looking at days in terms of minutes as opposed to hours, you know, because it's one thing to understand that every hour is crucial. It's another thing to understand that every minute is crucial. So me, I do my best to stay mindful of how crucial every minute is. And there's only 1,440 minutes within a day. And I don't want to waste none of those minutes. You know what I mean? Engaging with a sucker, doing sucker shit. You know what I mean? Jay-Z said it a long time ago, man. A wise man told me don't argue with fools because people from a distance can't tell who is who. I'm not gonna do that, you know. And a lot of times, that's another thing that happens when you fuck with people with low self-esteem. You start to lose sight of your value. You know, when you sit back and tango and wrestle with motherfuckers who don't understand their value or who don't have no value, you start to lose sight of your value. You start to forget how important you are. You start to forget how powerful you are. What I look like going back and forth or even entertaining somebody like that, that would be a total disrespect to myself, man. Like, I don't be trying to disrespect myself. You know, I ain't into disrespecting myself, man. I'm not into offending myself. I don't do that. You know what I mean? And for me to acknowledge certain goofballs and low self-esteem individuals on YouTube that's talking bad about sinful men, for me to do that, that would be a disrespect to myself, let alone sinful. That would be me disrespecting myself. You know, I would have to really think a lot lesser of myself than I actually do for me to do some shit like that. You know, because for me to think that they're big enough to do that, I would have to think so much lesser of myself. You know, they're not big enough for me to do that. You know, so I'm not going to offend myself. I'm not going to disrespect myself so that I got to apologize to myself later on and all of that type of shit, man. I don't like apologizing to myself, man. I'd rather just save myself the trouble of offending myself so that I don't have to apologize to myself later on, man. I will apologize to myself if I got to, but I don't like apologizing to myself. You know what I mean? Sometimes you got to apologize to yourself when you do certain shit, man. You know? Some of y'all probably ain't never apologized to yourself. I would apologize to myself plenty of times. You know what I mean? I didn't have to apologize to myself for allowing myself to, engage with certain bitches. I've had to apologize to myself for allowing myself to, befriend certain individuals that I ain't had no business befriending, being cool with certain people that I didn't have no business being cool with, man. I've had to apologize to myself. I don't like doing that, so I ain't gonna do nothing to where I'm gonna have to apologize to myself later on, man. You know. So yeah, people like that, you ain't gonna catch freeze roasting. You know. Will Castro, good looking with the $5 holler, right? Wrestling with dirty people, get dirty clothes. Don't let them dirty your clothes. Indeed, you know, Pimp ain't got time for that, man. Yeah, Pimp ain't got time for that, man. But yeah, man, I'm gonna give y'all a little bit of time to get on and share whatever thoughts, ask whatever questions you want to ask. I'm gonna give y'all the opportunity right now. Okay, so y'all see the pinned comment, right? So if you want to join the live, click that link. This is my first time doing this, y'all. So if I somehow do something wrong, man, excuse my pimping. It's my first time, doing this guest live thing with this new feature on YouTube. If you ain't wiped your feet off at the door when you step to a pimp's domain, please do so now, man. What I mean by that, hit that like button. Here we go. Oh man, out here doing what it do. You know,
Absolutely, absolutely. Blessings to those in the chat too, the YouTube family. Oh man, but real man, shit. You, I know everybody connected.
I could barely hear you.
Okay, hold on real quick. My bad. I was getting gas and shit. I had to take the pump out and shit.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
You hear me now?
yeah. You good now?
Okay. Now, I said first and foremost, rest in peace, Uncle Phil. I know that everybody has taken a major, major loss with this, including you, including me. Shit, all the viewers, the people that knew him, didn't know him, and things like that. So I wanted to get that out the way. But it's a beautiful thing, man, to continue to see you carry yourself in the way that you operating through this. You know, uh, yeah, man. So I just want to commend you on that, cuz that's some real shit. Cause as you know, I was around doing all that shit, and there
Right,
was no bending, no breaking, no
right,
hesitating, no none of that shit. So the definition of the foundation of solidness, that's what y'all have displayed, and that's what y'all taught me. Y'all know y'all taught me everything. I come up from underneath y'all.
right.
So man, beyond just what those would consider, just pimping and whatnot, just the values of being a man that y'all have displayed to me at my young age, at the time. Like that's something that would never change, that'll never go away from my mind, especially with sin. Um, and it's funny because I was just thinking about when y'all came up to my job
Yeah.
way back then when the nigga was 18, wasn't even thinking about none of this shit. This nigga walked in there. This nigga got his purple silk shirt on with his buttons, three buttons unbuttoned with the nigga chest all out and shit. And you was like, yeah, this my partner seeing this shit like that. And I'm looking at the nigga like, okay, well, all right. The nigga walked in the job. Nigga was like, so you work here? And I was like, yeah, I work here. He said, oh, okay, okay. That's what's up. You know how he be doing the little face he
Yeah.
be making shit. And then nigga was like, one day two bitches gonna come up in here, right, and be like, yeah, you don't work here no more, two bitches about to pay you right now, man. You about to start pimping. That was the funniest shit to me. So, man, I'll never forget that. I'll never forget anything, but the interesting part about all of this shit, man, is that I know everybody's sad, but the valuable memories we have to hold on to, the endless messages, and then for me personally, the way he took me in, because I became nephew and shit because of you, and man, I'm thinking about nigga all the funny times we had at the house. I remember when you had that big ass Escalade and I done backed that shit up in the garage and bent the garage up. And the nigga was like, I told you about. I said, damn, cuz I done backed this shit in the garage. And then when he found out, because of course he told him, he was like, what happened? Why didn't you? I was like, what you mean? What happened? He's like, why didn't you tell me, man? I said, I'm so freeze already. What I gotta tell you for, right? He said, you scared to tell me? I was like, no, I wasn't scared to tell you. But damn, man, I remember all that shit. Niggas literally had the best roasting sessions at the crib. I remember every time we went out, both of y'all, it was like no hesitation. He was like, yeah, that bitch right there, that's gonna be the one for you. He would step up to, literally when all these people on here who speak about confidence and self esteem and all that, um, excluding you, that being displayed within seeing that up close in person, the way Sinful did it and the way you did it, I don't even think people will believe the stories you can tell, man, because they just so powerful. There's just so much in it, and yeah, man, I'm gonna miss that nigga, man. I'm gonna miss Uncle Phil for real, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think your
Yeah. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but your video done gone away.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to figure it out because what somebody called.
Oh, okay. It might have to reappear once the video. I
Oh,
mean,
hold on.
once the phone call ended.
No, that didn't.
I could definitely I could hear you though. That shit popping up.
But I don't know what the fuck happened to my shit.
You want me to exit out of it so you can fix it?
Yeah, let me see if I can do that when you get out.
All right, for sure.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. And that still doesn't help. This is crazy. Everybody be talking about these. Everybody be talking about these iPhones. These iPhones is garbage.
This is
Oh,
crazy. Everybody be talking about these iPhones.
Yo, what up?
what's the word?
Yeah, free.
Sound a little bit distorted.
Hey, what up, bro? I'm from DC, DMV, 14th Street. You know what I'm talking about? That area.
You probably got to turn
Yeah,
your down a little bit.
I'm about to meet the TV. You probably just hear me. I ain't about to hear myself. But man, shout out to you and your brother. Like I said, I'm from DC, man. Way back 90s, Uptown, 1-4. But yo, shout out to your man, Sam. Yo, straight up, the game, when you talking about living the game to straight up to what it is, that's a talent. I called you when you was in a whip, when you passed out, you know what I'm saying, when everything happened and stuff like that. But the same time, you probably seen that. But what happened when I was that thing, yo, the man, comedian, straight up with everything. But as far as the
Right.
spiritual side, and with the game with it, with him growing with everything, man, it's like us brothers out here. I mean, living this young the lifestyle, and you might ain't get no money off that song. It's a lifestyle, straight up with it. You know what I'm saying? So just straight to be able to kick it with y'all and say something to y'all, do this story, man. We still like we here, like I'm talking about lifestyle. Man. We living a lifestyle. We don't know, yeah. I ain't even get into the aspect of the
Hey,
game and shit, but we been doing
oh,
that
but
shit for years. So yo, Uptown 1-4, man. Y'all stay up. Like you said, Boston baked beans. Do y'all thing.
okay. I was gonna tell you next time, man. You probably want to disconnect your headphones because people could barely.
Oh shit. Yo, but I'm about to keep rocking with you because you know I'm rocking with Hollywood. Yeah, I'm throwback like the yeah, I'm throwback to go back. You know what I'm saying? But I'm gonna stay with y'all like all day. I do this shit. You know what I'm saying? So you gonna see me more and more. But yeah, I'm gonna holler at you. I'm gonna cut everything shut down. I'll see you again.
For
Yo,
sure.
stay up, man. Stay up.
Yep. Yeah. As Sinful would say, uh, his headphone connection was not right with God. See, that's why I hate these iPhones. Cause see, Now y'all can't see me. So I don't even want to continue to live. I was gonna give people the opportunity to get on here and do their thing, man. But uh damn, this is some bullshit. All right, I'm gonna let one more person get on. Oh shit. What happened to you? I was gonna let you get on, man. I might let a couple more people get on, but if y'all want to get on, I'm gonna give y'all a second, man. If don't nobody get on, I'm gonna go ahead and end the live. Okay. Rated R, what's happening, man? What you eating, man?
What's happening, partner?
What you eating, man?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear
What am
me?
I eating?
Yeah,
Did you ask what I'm eating?
yeah.
Ah, man. I mean, this Texas right here, man, with that Texas honey, them beans, that queso, that sausage, that jab.
Look like you doing it big over there, man.
Oh, yeah, man, that ain't nothing but 5,000 square foot, just a little.
Oh, look.
5,000, the 14-foot ceilings.
Okay, okay.
Hey, man, when's Sin's wake or whatever, man?
We still planning it right now. You know what I mean? We kind of got an idea as to when it's gonna be, but we don't have a definite, time and place locked in right now. So I ain't gonna disclose no info on that right now. But
Right.
but once we
You
got it,
will though?
yeah, once we got it locked in, I'm gonna let it know, man. Let it be known. And if you want to come and pay your respects, you'd be more than welcome.
Yeah, man, I'm thinking about it, man. Man, it fucked me up, man. I shed a little tear, man. Sin was that nigga, man.
It's all right, man. Ain't
Enough
nothing
said. Hey, man, for sure.
for sure. All right. Man, this is some bullshit, man. I don't even want to continue to live like this. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna try something real quick, man. Hold on. Let me see. Damn. This is some bullshit. Video effects, what's that? See, I see this button right here to say video effects off, but it ain't let me turn it on. How you turn that shit on? Damn. Okay. Holistic, what's up with it, man?
What's going on, Freeze, man? How you doing?
I'm good, man. How you doing?
Good, man. I just wanted to pay my respects. Rest in peace, Sin. I actually came across Sin. I was actually at university, and I had gotten to a little bullshit on case and everything, right?
Yeah,
And this was the first video I ever came across Sin. Like I got into some bullshit when I was younger with a domestic situation, right?
yeah.
And I kid you not, I came across it was titled it was you can't beat you can't beat the fag out of bitch, something like that. And that was like the first video I seen. And I'm
Right.
like, I was watching that shit and he was just talking about, when you're young, you gotta watch your emotions, especially as a man growing up. And I took a lot of that and that was actually applicable to the situation I was dealing with at the time. And
Right.
then I've been tapped in ever since. Then I seen the whole catalog and everything, and then that's how I picked up with you through him. And I just wanted to commend y'all, man. Y'all got like a real strong brotherhood, man. I don't really be seeing no shit like that and in real life like that, man. People be on some fake shit, slime shit nowadays. It's crazy out here. So like, it's good to see that being publicly shown to everybody, so people can get a good example on. It's some still good partners. It's still some good brotherhood out here, you know.
Oh, for sure, man. One thing you got to keep in mind is to, just stay in tune with yourself. And like I said, man, make sure that you got your own self-esteem intact and stay moving on your high vibration, because when you do that, man, you naturally going to attract the right kind of people. Might not
No,
be most people, but it's going to be the right people. You know what I mean?
for sure. And then I'm pushing, man. Keep dropping them fitness content, man. I know you going through a lot, going through everything going right now. But shit, I be tapping into that because I be on the health shit too. I'm actually reading a book right now, Cleanse the Health. It talks about the juicing and everything,
What's the
getting the
author?
body right. What you say?
The author is Anthony who? Show the author.
Anthony William.
Okay.
Hold up, I gotta
Cleanse the Hill. Yeah,
cleanse the hill, bro. I got you.
that's what's by Anthony William. That's what's up.
Yeah, man. I be just trying to tap in. Once you get the insides right, everything outside, like how you say, you start attracting better and everything, and it just people can sense that and want to come to you, and then it got you hooking. But that's all I wanted to say, man. I just wanted to show my appreciation and actually talk to you in person on a live. Cause after Sinful, I know I chopped it up on the phone with Sinful a couple of times, but I was like, damn. Don't wait till it's too late when everybody dead and shit. So that's all I wanted to do, man. Appreciate everything you're doing and keep on rocking, man. Keep dropping that fitness content. I'm be tuning in.
Oh yeah, man. Like things settled with this, man. Yeah, the fitness content gonna definitely be coming for sure. But I appreciate you, man, for tapping in and supporting, man.
Nah, for sure. Y'all have a good night.
You too, man. All right. Yeah, that might be a cool book. Cleanse the Hill by Anthony William. Might have to check that out. But see, this iPhone shit is so garbage. It won't even let me tap into the video effects. So straight bullshit. But yeah, as much as I want to continue, man, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this live up, man. Let me make sure I got everybody before I leave. Think I did. Damn. Okay. Oh, I didn't. Joel the Conqueror, man, as always, good looking with the $100 holler, man. But yeah, man, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this thing up, man. Uh, before we leave, man, if you didn't wipe your feet off at the door when you stepped into a pimp's domain, please hit that like button, man. And I appreciate y'all for tapping in. I appreciate y'all for subscribing, hitting the bell when you subscribe. I appreciate all your comments, all your input and feedback. Uh, I appreciate y'all sharing. I appreciate all the super chats. I appreciate all the cash apps. I appreciate the few of you who was able to go live with me. And I appreciate your support in every which way that you come with it, man. Uh, if you out in traffic moving around, please do so in a safe fashion. And y'all already know we're going to do it again, man. Long live Simple to P. I'm out.